We're making a coffee table out of anything but a coffee table. IKEA hacks, baby. Hack, 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 hack. Okay, so lift-top coffee tables have been gaining popularity, and I think it's because they're just so functional, especially for small spaces. Because the ones I've been seeing are a pretty standard size, and sometimes you just need one that's maybe a bit smaller, or maybe one that's long and skinny to fit a tight space. So it's that time again where I challenge myself to turn this short, skinny Billy bookcase into something it was never intended to be. Last time, I turned this bookcase into a folding kitchen island using predominantly IKEA products to get the job done. This time, I want to flip things around a bit, literally. I want to turn the bookcase on its back and cut off the toe kick section. Maybe give it some legs to bring it up to coffee table height, and I definitely want those legs to match the existing walnut finish of the bookcase. I'm thinking about using an IKEA cabinet door as the tabletop, and if I could make this tabletop lift up, well then I'd be adding some functionality and extra storage to the table, which you just can't beat. And if I let you guys in on a little secret, I don't really enjoy sanding and staining very much. So I'm thinking if we do it this way, we kind of avoid a lot of that work while still ending up with a coffee table that is a nice warm wood tone. You see in the vision? Do I say that every time? You see in the vision? You see in the vision? Let's see what we can make. Okay, so the Billy itself is a very quick assembly process, and I didn't even put all of the shelves in. The reason I wanted to put it together is that I wanted to have a better idea of how it looks when it's solid, so I know where I want to cut it. But once I've got all of those measurements, I'm definitely gonna pull it apart back down into its flat pack pieces because it's gonna be so much easier to cut them like that. So back when I started woodworking in my one-bedroom apartment, I didn't have the wide array of power tools that I have now. I have noticed that with the introduction of the miter saw, the table saw, my drill press, my planer, etc., I have gotten a lot less patient and frankly less precise when I do have to use some of my more basic tools. So to start off the new year, I kind of want to slow down and get back to basics a little bit for this project to see if I can make something that I can be proud of without using all of my fancy tools. Okay, so we need to cut down the sides of our bookcase a little bit shorter to 37 7/8 of an inch. So because I'm gonna be making all of my cuts with the circular saw and it's a little bit rougher than the table saw, I'm gonna go ahead and use blue tape on all of my cuts, and that's just gonna help me avoid a massive amount of chip out and help preserve the clean lines of this veneer. So like I said, I'm feeling a little bit of back to basics. So I'm just gonna do a little refresher on the circular saw. What about it? It was in my head and now it's gone. Again, this is the first power saw that I used to cut any wood pieces, and I love her. She's little, she's only a 5.5. So mine is a battery powered, and whenever you are handling the saw in this way, make sure that it's not plugged in, it doesn't have the battery in. Safety, everybody. So I just wanna show you the blade on this. So I'm just gonna pull back the blade guard, but the teeth are pointed forward, and that means that it's going to hit the underside of your board and then come back up through the top side of your board, meaning that the underside of your board is going to have a cleaner cut than the top. If we want the outside of our piece to look the very best, then we are going to put that piece facing down so that the teeth of the saw are going to hit it on the way up and give us the cleanest cut. And while the battery's still out, I'm just gonna talk about the depth on this because for safety, we just want a little bit of the blade to show through on the other side while we're making our cut. Anything more than that, and you risk cutting into other things. So we are going to adjust with this little knob back here. Some circular saws might have a little lever. Basically, you just want to adjust this to the thickness of the material you're going to be cutting. Now I'm measuring how far my blade is from the edge of the base plate of my saw so I know how far to position my straight edge from the cut line. Another thing I'm going to do to help reduce chip out is I'm actually going to use a sacrificial board. In this case, I'm using a piece of plywood, and I'm going to put that under where the blade is actually going to cut through on my board. Normally, if you make a cut and it's overhanging the table, well then there's a lot of stress on the underside of that board as the cut is coming to a close. This way, the entire cut is supported and nothing is going to be falling off once you make your cut. And when using my sacrificial board, I just make sure that I take a board of the same thickness and I prop up the other end so that everything is level as I'm cutting. Okay, 2026, the year of cleaning up as I go. But honestly, I'm usually pretty good about tidying up the workshop after a project, but when that's done, I have absolutely no desire to head upstairs and vacuum the floor. And mopping? Not likely. But the Eufy Omni S2 helps to reduce all of that. Using it daily keeps my floors so much cleaner and my life so much easier. So thank you to Eufy by Anchor for sponsoring this video. Between my woodworking, my cat throwing off fur like she'd rather be hairless, and just my general clumsiness, my house is full of dust and tiny particles and allergens that can cause allergies and just lead to a poor quality of air. But the Eufy Omni S2 can help reduce all of that. It has 30,000 pascals of maximum suction. Combined with their cleaning tornado technology, it achieves a real cleaning efficiency of 100 air watts, ranking first in the industry and comparable to handheld vacuum cleaners. More importantly, the filter is not easily clogged, making it indispensable for daily use and a fantastic investment for the long term, promoting a cleaner, safer, and healthier home environment for me, my family, and my cat. It features the first Hydrojet 2.0 self-cleaning roller mop, which can easily remove tough stains like egg spills, tomato sauce, and coffee. It has the longest 29-centimeter roller mop, which can extend outwards, offering the largest edge-to-edge cleaning coverage for a more thorough clean. It uses electrolyzed water to mop, which can kill 99.99% of common bacteria, which is good for me and my cat. Most importantly, it includes a mop self-cleaning feature. A hands-free and proper clean of the mop means preventing mold growth and secondary air contamination, improving overall respiratory health. This unit even helps to clean areas I normally forget to address, like under the sofa and the office floor, while automatically avoiding any obstacles. The Eufy Omni S2 also has an elegant and high-end look that blends seamlessly into modern homes. If you want to get your hands on one of these incredible machines, then we've got an exclusive code for you. Eufy S2 VIP gets you $200 off using the link in the description. As this is a limited 30-day offer, you're going to want to claim it while you can. And as anyone who enjoys DIY knows, the second you get done tidying up, it's off to make another mess. Oh no. Okay, so a couple things to think about. First off is that we cut off our holes that are used to attach the bottom portion of the bookshelf, which is going to be one of the sides of our table. So after doing some tests, I discovered that I can use a 3/16 drill bit and a 5/16 drill bit to drill the holes for the dowels. I also had to figure out the spacing of the holes down from the top of the board and also in from each side because they are a little bit different. And once again, with our offcut piece, we can use it to line up how deep we need our holes to go. Once all the holes are drilled, we'll assemble our pieces back together. Yes! But that don't mean I want to. Yes! Hey, you guys, that's pretty freaking perfect. Although you might have noticed I flipped the bottom board around so that our hardware was going to be on the inside of our unit, just like it is at the top. So then that way we have a cleaner look on the bottom. Eventually we'll have a cleaner look on the bottom. Because this was the bottom and the backer board only went to a certain point, this piece is not as deep as the top part. So we're gonna have to do something about this later. But it's time to drink more water. Justin, if you're watching this, it's time to drink water. I know you haven't been drinking as much water as you should. Now's the time. Drink with me. Go get a glass of water if you have to. I'll wait. Did you do it? Good stuff. It feels good to be hydrated, huh? So you might notice that if we were to try to put this backer board in as such, it would be too long because we cut our shelf down, obviously. So you know what? We are just not even gonna use this right now. We're gonna take it out and proceed without it. But without the backer board, we have no bottom to our coffee table. Well, you know what? That backer board was never gonna work anyways. It's only like 1/8 of an inch thick, certainly not sturdy enough to be a base for a coffee table to allow for us to store things inside of it. I thought about using something that already came with this bookcase, and that would be these two shelves. So they are nice and thick and sturdy and would be an excellent bottom to the unit. And bonus, they already fit perfectly inside the structure. Problem is, with the 2 shelves that come with it, it's just not enough to cover up the bottom. So when I was at IKEA, I actually picked up a couple more because you can buy just the shelves, and that's what we're gonna use to create the bottom of our coffee table. We are going to attach these using pocket screws. I'm turning up the speed and torque on the drill so that our holes are drilled fast and clean. And when I'm drilling the pocket holes, I'm gonna drill them on the side that already has holes. So I went ahead and drilled my pocket holes into 2 of my boards, and I'm gonna use them to secure either end to make sure that this whole thing is nice and square. So the groove here that's meant for the backboard is gonna give us a really nice clean line to be able to line up our board to, which is really nice. And it's gonna come in handy later on. I only drilled 6 holes in this one because I already have 2 holes here. So now we're almost there. I just need to take the last shelf that I bought and cut a piece to fit in here. All right, so we are back. So we've got ourselves a box here, which is a really good place to start for our coffee table. Problem is, this box is significantly shorter than I need it to be. We need to raise it up. It needs legs, and I think this is a great opportunity to add in a little bit of personality. I'm not really a fan of things that are way too linear, way too contemporary, clean lined. I like a little bit more traditional, a little curvy, you know? So that's what I think we're gonna do with these legs. I ended up ordering some legs online. They come with their own matching T-nuts, but they're also unfinished, which gives me the opportunity to try and stain match these to this finish, but that is a problem for future Rochelle. I actually love that these T-nuts come with screws to attach them rather than just those little teeth where you pound them down into the wood, because that's gonna be extra secure for a table that you're kind of handling all the time. The problem with these legs is not even the T-nut, it's the thread on the leg is too long. The threads go right through. The T-nut is actually going to be okay. So before I can even think about starting to install my legs on the bottom of this table, I'm gonna have to go ahead and cut down the threaded bolt a little bit shorter so that it doesn't go busting through the bottom of my table and show on the inside. I forgot to account for the tip of the drill bit when I drilled my hole for the first T-nut, and I panicked a little that I was either going to puncture the other side of the shelf or I wasn't going to be able to go deep enough because of that. But then I remembered that my plan all along was to add the backing board back on upside down so that it would cover all the ugly pocket holes. So this gave me that little bit of extra material I needed so my holes could be the perfect depth. Okay, can I just ask to all of my friends with bangs out there, do you ever just get totally overstimulated by them just mid-project and have to stop what you're doing immediately to go put in about a dozen hair clips so you can pull it all out of your face before you can even think about moving on to the next step? Or is that just me? So because we cut the toe kick off of our shelf, I did have to cut the backer board down a little bit so that it would fit in our finished project. So I measured how long I would need it to be, and then I cut off the excess. But in order to actually hold this backer board on and look similar to the other side of the shelf, I need to cut a new piece, a little nubbin with a groove in it to hold this all together. So luckily I've got this offcut piece of shelf that has this beautiful finished edge on it that's actually the perfect thickness and width to make our little nubbin out of. Problem is, it doesn't have a groove in it, so we're gonna have to cut one with the circular saw. So in order to make a groove in my piece, I don't wanna cut all the way through, so I'm just gonna set my blade depth to about 1/4 of an inch before running it through the piece. And make sure you take the battery out. My saw blade is thinner than the groove I need to make, so I end up having to make a second pass with my saw right next to the first one, so I'll have the right thickness for the backing board. With that done, I just had to cut the board all the way through to get my little nubbin. Gorgeous! Now Now for the legs, I'm measuring the same positioning on all 4 corners, drilling my holes for the T-nuts, attaching the T-nuts, and then screwing in the legs. Okay, so this is the Tistorp door from IKEA, and it's the reason that we cut our bookshelf down to the length that we did. Because if you remember the last Billy bookcase hack that I did, I bought a couple of doors from IKEA, but they needed a lot of modifications in order to be used how we wanted to use them. And I didn't necessarily want to go through all of that this time, so I bought a door that was 18 inches by 40 inches, and I think that's the perfect overhang in order to be our lift top tabletop. And we don't even have to do anything to the door, which I love. I was a little bit concerned because it's not a part of the Billy line that the walnut finishes weren't gonna match. So I definitely took an offcut piece from my last Billy bookcase into the store with me to make sure that I was getting exactly what I needed. And you know what? I think these look incredible together. But we are not just going to attach this as is. No, we want this to lift up. And for that, we need a lift top mechanism. Obviously, it came with no instructions, which, I mean, is so prevalent these days, but you gotta really have a DIY spirit when you get these things. Prices ranged from, I think these were about $40 up to like $120. So maybe those ones come with instructions. And this one, I don't know. Okay, so this piece seems like it should go on the side of our unit, and then this piece supports the top. That's pretty straightforward. But how do I know where to put it? So before I just start punching holes into my coffee table, only to find out they're not in the right spot, I decided to make a prototype out of some scrap lumber and use this to figure out exactly where to attach my hardware so that it functions properly. Stay. Okay. So I made a micro adjustment to the hinge placement to get it to stay down. Now I'm just gonna copy those hole placements over to the Billy, and I'm praying for it to be right. Reminder that this tabletop is actually a cabinet door, so I'm covering the door hardware holes with these plugs I had in the workshop. I did all of my math and all of my tests for the positioning of the tabletop, and you're twisted. No. Ugh. What happened? No. How could I be so off? What? Sometimes, even when you do all the math and all of the tests, you end up installing your piece on backwards. But don't be hard on yourself, mistakes happen. Yeah, okay. Only 2 unnecessary holes. The tabletop ended up being not quite level, so I added some felt furniture pads to the front of the table and it fixed our problem. I love a simple fix. No, I haven't forgotten about the side with the exposed particle board. I do have a plan. I want to use some of the veneer from the offcuts from the shelves, but it's more like a wood grain sticker than a true veneer. So by scoring the board with a utility knife and then using a hairdryer to loosen the adhesive, I'm able to remove a piece long enough to cover these raw edges. With the veneer removed, I added it to the raw edges using some wood glue, and then when that was dry, I used my edge band trimmer to clean up the excess, and it actually worked. Good morning, you guys. It is time to stain the legs on our table because that unfinished look with the walnut finish of the table itself is just not gonna cut it. However, I can't just go straight into staining those legs because I have no idea what the right stain is gonna be. So I'm gonna do some testing. I've got a piece of birch plywood here because it is the closest thing I could kind of find to the finish that's on the legs, and I'm hoping that this at the very least will help us narrow down tonally which of these stains is kind of close. So we gotta get going here because we got 9 different stains to try here. And honestly, 9 stains, there's gotta be something close in here, right? I also did some combinations to see if that would get us closer. And the combo that worked the best was to first go in with a gel stain in Provincial and then go over it with dark walnut. I will link the exact products below. Okay, so our legs have been stained and top coated, and they are all dry overnight, so we are ready to go ahead and put them on the table. But you know me, I have to add some final touches, so this piece is perfect. Some felt feet for the legs, and some custom stickers to cover the IKEA hardware. I could have done what I did for the edge banding, but I still have this wood grain peel and stick wallpaper, which is just so easy to use and is a pretty good match for this IKEA walnut. I'll link that below for you too. Gone. You guys, I'm actually pretty excited about this lift top hardware. I can see so many uses for this. I did notice though, when I was looking for it online, that there were some that were sort of a one-piece thing that was connected by a center bar. And my thought process is that maybe that's a little bit sturdier for if you're wanting to open your table from the middle of the table. Because for this one, you know, if you go to move one side of it, they do move independently from each other because it's 2 separate brackets. But that's not a big problem for me. I just know that I need to grab the tabletop from the sides and pull it up. And then when I go to push it back down, I just hold it in the middle and push from there. This table is feeling a little small for my space, which means it's actually up for grabs. So if you're a fan of TSG and live in the GTA and would like to get your hands on this table, take a look in the description to find out how. Stay tuned for next week because Becky is transforming her downstairs hallway. And get ready, you guys, because there may or may not be a controversial DIY decision in this one. You know what? I'm gonna go plant myself on the couch and let you feet do some vacuuming around. Bye.